Greetings, Exiles, and it's time for the first journey in Path of Exile 2. It happens. And even though the game launch didn't go smoothly, I thought it would be much worse, to tell you the truth. And I think that the developers did a good job with this difficult challenge. I want to start this video with a little intro in which I will talk about my choice of skills and Ascendancy. I decided right away that I wanted to try crossbows and grenades because they look really cool and fun. Also, I really wanted to try WASD control, and these skills are perfect for that. As for Ascendancy, it will be a monk and specifically an Acolyte because a mercenary is boring. On paper, Acolyte looks very interesting and potentially powerful. These nodes give us a lot of mana and life sustain and of course damage. Gathering all these flames can be quite annoying, but since I will be using a crossbow, I will be able to attack and still move freely, and in theory, I can easily gather all these flames. Also, those nodes look strong. But that's more for the endgame. I was also thinking that Acolyte is a relatively safe choice, because if something goes bad I can always take raw damage and chaos resistance, and that's always good. And of course darkness. I hope it doesn't come to that though, because darkness looks terrible. Enough yapping. Let the journey begin. What can I say? The campaign in Path of Exile 2 is quite an interesting gaming experience, and I constantly felt like I was playing Dark Souls. Although I think that most of the problems I had were due to the fact that I didn't know which skills are optimal and how to properly go through the acts. And the second playthrough will be much easier, even if it is a fresh start. It was a pretty tough boss, and there is nothing better than getting a well-deserved reward after a hard battle. Classic loot from bosses. Some things never change. It's time to get our Ascendancy. I always disliked the labyrinth in Path of Exile and always said that the developers need to replace it with something else. And guess what? Sometimes it's better to keep quiet. Because Sanctum as the first lab is just a disaster. And now the labyrinth doesn't look so bad. Alright, a few tries and now I'm an Acolyte. Finally. Let's see how strong this node is. Well, what can I say? My idea that crossbows will be good to combine with flames turned out to be right, and I could easily gather all of them and still deal damage to enemies. But mana, life leech, and damage were not felt at all, and so my character was still weak. But I'm sure the second lab will fix it. Surely. Speaking of which, I chose Ultimatum for the second lab. And it's much faster and easier than Sanctum. Now I'll definitely be stronger. Right? Now mana and life leech are really felt, and my character has a good mana and life sustain. But I didn't notice the damage increase at all. As a result, I got 2 Ascendancy points and my character became slightly stronger. And to tell you the truth, I was expecting to get more power from 2 Ascendancy points. But maybe on the maps everything will change. Surely. To be honest, I spent a lot of time going through the campaign because I tried different skills and their combination. But crossbows with ammunition turned out to be very clunky. And without a good crossbow you have 0 damage. But the grenades are something special. Very strong skills. So in the end, I ended up choosing Explosive Shot because it has relatively good damage. In addition, it combines well with explosive grenades. Using this combination, I managed to get through the campaign. I won't lie to you, but it was long and painful. But I did it. Now let's see what the endgame is all about. First, let's try the meta build with gas grenades. Scuffed version. Not bad overall, but boring. Besides, I have other plans for the build. The first valuable item I sold. Now I can buy a new crossbow. I don't know what characteristics I need, but this one looks pretty good. Besides, gaining mana per enemy killed is a real game changer and saves us from mana problems. As for my other gear, it's just junk I found on the ground. It's a shame to show it. Sag. Now let's pick my new main skill that I'll be using next. And that would be the voltaic grenades. I like this skill because it stuns all enemies, including the bosses, and that's pretty good. Also, there is a node on the skill tree with a pretty strong effect. Well, there are a few other good skill nodes nearby. So I decided to scale the lightning damage. My skill tree looks like this. I don't think it's quite optimal, but it's a good start. Another reason why I chose voltaic grenades is shock burst rounds. Another cool skill that combines perfectly with voltaic grenades. Shock burst rounds does a lot of damage if the target is under the lightning ailment effect. And voltaic grenades apply lightning ailment status for 5 seconds. I will use shock burst rounds to quickly kill rare mobs and bosses. Very convenient when the target is stunned. Besides, it has a good AoE and you can kill trash mobs at the same time. Seems pretty good to me. My first divine orb. I almost died from amazement. That was close. And of course I use cluster grenades as additional burst damage. Also I use Herald of Ash and Lightning for better map clearing. Maybe it's not the most optimal build, but as you know, I don't care much about that. The main thing is to have fun. As for my Ascendancy, all those flames were very weak, so I replaced those nodes with Chaos Resistance and Chaos Damage. And after these changes, it became much easier to play. I felt the increase in damage almost immediately. And despite the fact that my extra damage is random, but on average we get a good DPS boost. Well, the doubled Chaos Resistance is a very nice quality of life improvement. Let's now talk about the game in general. I think this is a good time. I will not bore you with a long list of what I liked, but just say that I am very satisfied with the game. There are of course some issues with the balance, namely the damage of some skills and monsters, loot drop, etc., but I think the developers will fix it eventually. But overall the game is a lot of fun for me. But there is one thing that annoys me a lot. And that is level design, namely maps and levels in the campaign. First of all, they are just huge, and often to kill the last rare monster you have to go back to the very beginning because you miss a small corner in which this monster is hidden. But that's half of the trouble. I really hate the design of the maps, specifically the fact that most of the maps are narrow corridors that connect small rooms. You are constantly fighting in narrow spaces, monsters constantly surround you and are easily killed. Because of this you have to play very slowly and look carefully where you are going, because if you are surrounded in the corridor you are dead. I would like a little more open space to be able to do at least some maneuvers. Well, I won't bore you with my yapping about Path of Exile 2, about the game's problems and balance. Maybe later I will make a separate video on this topic. You know, another useless video with the title, My Honest Opinion About the Game. At the moment I'm happy with the build, although it can't really be called a build and it's more just a set of skills that I'm trying to combine and some random gear. But I think those lightning skills have some nice potential for the endgame, and I hope that in the end I will have something fun and playable. Well, I think it's a good time to end the video. It turned out without the cool action and crazy lucky drop, and it's more of an opening episode 0. And I hope the next part will be a bit more fun. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. Thank you all for watching and commenting. I appreciate it. Also, I will be very grateful for your likes and subscription. Bye everyone, and see you in the new video.